Hi, Year 5, good morning, and how are you today? I hope you had a very good weekend. Well, again, today we're studying math, and it's still a review on lesson 11. But there's a little bit of difference that we're going to have today. Today, we'll have a test at the end of this lesson. Now, this should be about the third time that we're having a review on lesson 11. So let us see if we really understand what we have been learning. So get your pencils, get your math notebook, because after the lesson, you will be writing a test. So please be prepared, okay? Now, what did we look at in lesson 11? We studied measurements, right? Yeah, we studied measurements. Now, one thing I want you to know is there are three major forms of measurements. We either measure length, that's how long, that's when we use the ruler, remember? The lessons where we were using the ruler. And then the second one is mass, and that's the one we were measuring how heavy or light. And the third one is volume. That's what's the quantity, what's the capacity. So when we're talking about measurements in this lesson, we'll be looking at three things: measurements about length or measurements of length, measurements of mass, and measurements of volume. Our objective, of course, is to look at length, mass, and volume. We can also call volume capacity. So just in case I mention capacity, just know that I'm also talking about volume. Now, the two major things that we will need to do while talking about measures is this. First thing, what kind of measurements are we talking about? Length. How many units do we have for measuring length? Then, how do we convert the units of length? So I want you to follow carefully just in case there's something you've missed in the past lessons. Don't miss it in this one. The second one is for us to be able to identify what's volume or what measurement do we call mass? What do we measure when we measure mass? And what are the units of mass? And how do we change or convert from one unit of mass to another? The third one, of course, is volume or capacity. Now, like I mentioned earlier, we have measurements. When you want to measure, there are three major categories of measurements that you may want to make. You may either want to know how something is long or short. That's one kind of measurement. You may also want to know how heavy or light something is. That's another kind of measurement. And the third one, you may want to know how plenty or little something is, or what capacity can this cup hold? How much quantity of water can this cup hold? This is the third category of measurements. So let's look at the first one, which is length. Like I said, it's the first category of measurement, and you may want to look at the size of a thing. Is it long or is it short? Okay? Now, the second one we mentioned is mass. This just looks at weight. You know, remember your measuring scale you have probably in your bathrooms? You use it to check the weight. Oh, let me see what my weight is today. That is called mass. It's the second category of measurements. What is the third one? Volume. Volume is the one that checks, I have a bottle of water. What is the capacity this bottle can take? This bottle cannot take more than 350 milliliters. That means if I have 400 milliliters of water, this bottle cannot contain it because it's too small for 400 milliliters of water. That is the third category of measurement, volume. So don't forget we have first category of measurement, length, second one, mass, and the third one, volume. Now, when we want to talk about length, we have some units that we use to describe how long a thing is or how short a thing is. For example, if I could say the length of my pencil is 5 centimeters. Centimeters is one of the units of length. Okay? Now I cannot say my pencil is 5 uh, kilometers. Or rather, let me not use kilometers. I cannot say my pencil is 5 uh, kilograms. Well, maybe I can say kilograms, but basically, what I'm trying to explain to you is there are some certain units we use for length. We have two particular units for mass, and we have two particular units for volume. Now, what are the units that we always use for length? If you're talking about length, we measure millimeters, very tiny objects, centimeters, a little bit bigger objects, maybe like your pencils, biros, your erasers, or maybe your erasers. Sometimes it depends on how long. Some of them can be measured in millimeters. Meters is for larger objects. The tree in front of your house, daddy's car, the school bus. But kilometers is only for distance and roads. Please don't forget that. Kilometers is only for distance and roads. Like uh, I drive from my home to the school, and the distance between my home to the school is 500 kilometers. Okay, so the kilometers measures only distance and roads. What about mass? Mass has two. Now we're on the second category of measurement. Mass has only two. It is only length that has four. Mass has only two. And what are the two? Grams and kilograms. Remember, mass is just measuring how heavy or light. So we have grams for measuring lighter objects, maybe like a pack of chips. Grams can measure it. Kilograms measures bigger objects that are heavy. Okay, now I cannot use the unit of mass to describe a length. For example, I want to look at how tall I am. I can say I am 5 meters tall. Okay, that is a unit for measuring how long. Meters is for length. But I cannot say I am 5 kilograms tall. No, because kilograms is for measuring my weight and not my height or length. So it is appropriate to say that I am 60 kilograms big. Okay, that is now measuring my weight. It is measuring how heavy I am. Okay, those are the two units for measuring mass, grams and kilograms. Now let's go to the third category of measurements, volume. And I remember I said to you that this measures things that are in liquid or semi-liquid form. Water, water bottle, ice cream, the dispenser bottle, gallons of water. This is what millimeters and meters measure. So volume is only having two units as well. Milliliters, pardon me, milliliters for smaller quantities, like maybe the water bottle you bring to the school is quite small, so it can only contain milliliters of water. Liters of water, on the other hand, are the dispenser bottle. You know, it's quite big and heavy. So it's like a gallon. It contains liters of water. A bucket of water also is quite much and contains liters and not milliliters. Now I hope you understand this. We go straight to a review on length. You know the units of length already. We have milliliters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. And I already mentioned to you that millimeters is the smallest unit. Now look at the block we have here. The block that shows the steps of each of the units. Can you see kilometers has the biggest block? Then followed by meters, followed by centimeters and millimeters. Now this will help you to be able to convert from one unit to another. Now these are all our 4 units that we have. The question is, how do we convert? There is a rule for conversion. When you want to convert a big unit to small unit, you multiply. The question again is, what is a big unit? For example, between centimeter and millimeter, which one is the bigger unit? Look at the block. Centimeter and millimeter, which one is the bigger unit? The bigger one is centimeters. Good job. You can see the centimeter block is bigger. Now, between kilometers and meters, which one is bigger? Kilometers. Kilometers has the bigger block. So, in essence, if I want to change a unit from kilometer to meter, it means I will have to multiply because I'm changing a big block to a small block. So I will need to multiply. But if I'm changing a small block to a big block, I will need to divide. Do not forget this conversion rules. Small to big, divide. Now, we also have the conversion blocks here. Let's take a look at it. If I am moving from any of these bigger blocks, maybe kilometers to meters, meters to centimeters, or centimeters to millimeters, moving from a bigger block to a smaller block, you multiply. And coming from a smaller block now to a bigger block, you have to divide. Now, don't forget this. 10 millimeters make 1 centimeter. 100 centimeters make 1 meter, and 1000 meters make 1 kilometer. This is very important when you are converting. Okay, so for example, if I have 50 centimeters, I want to change it to millimeters. I have 50 centimeters to change to millimeters. That means I have a big block to change to a small block. What will I do? Multiply. Big to small. Multiply. Now, what am I going to multiply by? By 10. Because the millimeter block is 10. So I multiply by 10. So if I have 50 centimeters to change to millimeters, I multiply 50 by 10 and I now have 500 millimeters. Remember that I'm going to change the units to millimeters. So my answer will now be 500 millimeters. Do you know it is also possible for me to change from kilometers, jump to centimeters? Do you know that? Yes, I can change from kilometers to centimeters. What do I need to do? All I need to do is change first to meter, then from meter, I will change to centimeter. Let's try something like that. I have 5 kilometers and I want to change to centimeters. So now I have a big block of 5 kilometers to change to centimeters. What is the first thing I do? I now know that I am changing from big block to small, then smaller. Remember, there are 2 blocks there. First to meter, then to centimeters. So my 5 kilometer to meters will be 5 multiplied by what? 1000, because I'm changing first to meter. Okay, so 5 multiplied by 1000 is 5000. Now I will change again from 5000 meter to centimeter. Okay, so now 5000 meter, if I want to change to centimeter, what will I do? I will still multiply because I'm still going to a small block. So 5000 meter multiply by what? By 100, because I'm going to centimeter and the centimeter block is 100. So I multiply again by 100. This time I will have like 5 million. No, 50,000, pardon me. I will have 50,000. Would it be 50,000? 500. Because we're going to be having 5 zeros. It will be 500,000 centimeters. So that means I have 5 kilometers. To change it to centimeters, first I convert it to meters by multiplying by 1000. Then I will now multiply my answer again by 100. So now I will have 500,000 centimeters.